Thank you for joining us for this very special integration webinar that we are having with ActiveDEMAND. We are just so happy to have you here today. My name is Keela. I am a customer marketing manager here at Pipedrive, and I am just really happy to also have with me here the CEO and co-founder of ActiveDEMAND, Sean Leonard. He's going to go ahead and say hi to you guys right now.
Hello, welcome all, and yeah, very appreciative of the time you're giving us today, and looking forward to this discussion.
I just wanted to give you some quick background about Pipedrive for those of you who are not familiar with Pipedrive. We were basically built by a team of sales managers who are just looking for an easier, better CRM. We actually just turned 8 years old last week, and we have grown really rapidly. We now have 5 offices in different locations, including Tallinn and Tartu, which are both in Estonia, Lisbon, Portugal, London, and New York City. That's actually where I am presenting to you from today. And we currently have over 75,000 companies using us in over 170 countries. So really excited to potentially add you to the growing number of users that utilize us every day. Just also want to kind of give you some quick background about why Pipedrive, why you should choose Pipedrive as your CRM. 3 really big reasons. First of all, we're incredibly simple to use. As Sean is going through his integration today, you'll see this even with the integration. But while we are very simple to use, we're also very powerful. And the reason we're so powerful is that we basically help you visualize your sales process. So when our founders built this system and Pipedrive, they built it behind this idea of activity-based sales, which is this belief that at the end of the day, the only thing you control are your actions. So everything in Pipedrive is going to be focusing on what you do, what you have scheduled, always making sure that you know what you should be doing and where your attention should lie. Lastly, and pretty much the reason we're having this webinar, is Pipedrive is also very customizable. Pretty much everything that you see in Pipedrive you can edit, add on to make it better for you. And of course, you can also customize it with a ton of different applications and integrate it as well. One of them, and one of the great ones, being ActiveDEMAND, which Sean is now going to kind of give you a little bit more background about.
Yeah, so ActiveDEMAND, we were founded in 2012 by a bunch of marketers. Unlike Pipedrive, that was founded by sales folks, we were actually a marketing agency, and the challenge we were having is executing digital marketing for a large fleet of clients. And it's a case that during our time as a marketing agency, 2 things that we've had interfaced with is definitely a lot of different CRMs. And even our company, it's a case that we went through several CRMs. And I think the biggest challenge that any CRM has is it's got to be usable by the sales folks. And when we found Pipedrive, which was very early in our development as a software company, we were like, there it is, and we dumped Salesforce immediately and moved to Pipedrive. And it's a case that was one of the best decisions that we made. And as such, it's a case that as Pipedrive users, we also use our software, and hence it's a case that the integration between our 2 systems is very tight. We're a Canadian company. It's a case that ActiveDEMAND is built by a bunch of folks in Canada. Now, why ActiveDEMAND is, instead of me just jumping to the answer to that, I'll just talk a little bit more about the challenges we face as salespeople. And I think this is pretty much universal. Sales is a contact sport, and that's why I think Pipedrive nailed it, is they've given us a tool set that allows us to, as salespeople, execute. The technology's not in the way. And one of the challenges that we face as salespeople, though, is that if we have the right tool, it's about execution. It's about getting to the right people at the right time and engaging with them. And we all face Pareto's principle. 80% of our revenue comes from 20% of our activities. And the question is how do we get more of those very useful activities to accelerate the buyer journey? Something else that we've been facing as salespeople is we're ending up with a lot of data. Data is what machines consume. People consume information, and we lack information. And I think that the old adage about marketing in Venus and salespeople are in Mars, I think it's actually true. Marketing has a different task than sales if we have a well-oiled machine. But the connection between the marketing and sales teams has to be very, very tight. And if it's not, then we're going to be facing challenges. Now, one of the great things about Pipedrive is the ability to connect, like Keela said, to lots of different applications. And quite often, as salespeople, we'll say, hey, you know what, it'd be fantastic, I'll just app up, right? I'll just start adding a bunch of apps to accelerate my sales process. Now, the challenge with that model is not that the apps aren't outstanding, because the apps are outstanding. The challenge with the model is what's missing in the picture. And what's missing in the picture is the prospects. Little pieces of the prospects end up being spread out amongst all the different tools that we end up building. And we sometimes end up in a bit of a Zapier storm, so to speak. So really, the real solution to accelerating sales, I argue, is well-targeted messaging, well-timed communications, and we need to make it, what's in it for me. We need our prospects to feel that their unique problems and challenges are solved by you, right? And we need personalized engagement. So back to my original statement is we have a data problem from a sales perspective. So the solution, I argue, is an integrated marketing platform like ActiveDEMAND. And the idea of ActiveDEMAND is that it is a full stack. The full stack surrounds the prospect. So from first touch on the website all the way through to sales engagement, all the way through to where the person becomes a brand advocate, is all in one place. And there's a reflective nature between ActiveDEMAND and Pipedrive where the data is flowing between the two systems. So with regards to ActiveDEMAND, we have the email marketing tools. We've got outstanding landing pages. We've got great social media dissemination tools. Very important in the sales side is the appointment scheduling system, surveys. And the hottest lead for any salesperson is really when the phone rings, right? The phone is the major tool for us as salespeople. And if it's a case that the calls aren't part of the story, it's a case that where there's a big gap. So ActiveDEMAND is an outstanding call tracking system, both inbound and outbound, as I'll show you. So really, there's lots of tools. It is a full stack, and we have website tracking, email tracking, inbound, outbound call tracking, etc. And really, as a result of us being Pipedrive users for so long, our business would be hampered if we didn't have because let's face it, we dog food, we eat our own software, we're using our own software, so as a company, we rely on a daily basis on the connection between our system and Pipedrive. So really, as we have very, very good integration with Pipedrive. I would argue there isn't a vendor as tightly integrated with Pipedrive as us as a result of our requirement internally to be using Pipedrive. So it's a case that full visibility into what the marketing activities are doing, prospect insights to help the salesperson make the right choices on the right people at the right time, full deal automation based on behaviors of the prospects, and of course email and call tracking. And really philosophically, and I'll be talking about this when I get into the software, we believe sales need to be staying where they in the tool that is best for them, which is Pipedrive, and that they have the information required to choose which prospects are ready to be engaged with, and let the automation take care of those that aren't. So even though there's lots of tools, I'm just going to focus on the pieces that help us as salespeople. The deal automation, we've got a great Chrome extension that adds the prospect insights layer to Pipedrive. We do have a native integration with Outlook. The appointment scheduling is native, and right at the bottom, the most important thing is, of course, the reflective nature of the data flowing between the two systems. So in this walkthrough, I'm going to start with a little bit of visibility into the marketing side of things. Then I'm going to walk through the process into sales engagement with the prospects, and then a detailed story about the integration. So with that, I'm just going to pass it back to Keela to talk a little bit about the integration from the very starting point, which is the marketplace. Keela?
Awesome, thank you, Sean. So Sean's just basically going to get ready for the actual walkthrough inside of ActiveDEMAND, but last thing I'm just going to kind of go over real quickly is how to connect ActiveDEMAND inside your Pipedrive system. So all you have to do is go into your Pipedrive settings. Once you're in Pipedrive settings, go to Apps and Integrations, and then click on Go to Marketplace. Alternatively, you can also just open up your web browser and just go to marketplace.pipedrive.com. But once you're there, just go ahead and search for ActiveDEMAND. Once you go ahead and find ActiveDEMAND, you just have to install it and connect to your account, and then you're just going to follow further instructions to finalize that setup. So really easy, it will take you less than 5 minutes, but once you do that, you're going to connect our two systems. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Sean's presentation.
ActiveDEMAND at its core is a tool set for applying pressure to a population of people with the intent on creating sales-ready leads. And once we create the sales-ready lead, then it's passed off to sales. In an ideal world, we'll focus their entire effort on turning that lead into a customer, and they'll be executing where they should be in the CRM. And hopefully never leaving the CRM, and all of the information they need should be where it needs to be, is in Pipedrive while they are trying to close the sale. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you the tool set from the marketer's perspective, and then I'll walk my way through to where the handoff happens, and then of course follow through with the integration in Pipedrive. So ActiveDEMAND has a couple of campaign types, and one of the campaign types that would be used by marketers and sometimes salespeople is the calendar-based interface. And the idea behind this is that we're scheduling content fixed around specific dates and times on the calendar. As ActiveDEMAND is an email marketing platform, we'd be scheduling emails. Maybe one email is going to go here. We'll do another one on the 25th. We'll follow up on the 27th to all of the people that did not open the previous emails. I may schedule social media posts. I may do blog posts or bulk import posts with spreadsheets. And while I'm here, I'll show you the email builder, and this builder will look familiar as we progress because we'll keep using this builder for doing different content development in the platform. So the email builder, it is a drag and drop interface, so it's very easy to use. But it also has some sophisticated capabilities, like for example, full multivariate testing, as well as segmented send. We can send different versions of the emails to different segments of the list. Now, typically when we're doing campaigns, we're going to use landing pages. So ActiveDEMAND is a landing page tool as well. The landing pages are built similar to how the emails are built, and that's using the same builder. It's a, like I said, drag and drop interface. We use this builder as well for landing pages. We use it for pop-ups and overlays, which also are in the platform. And we also use it for web forms. So it's a full-featured web form builder. And I mentioned that we do appointment scheduling. And if we think about appointment scheduling, it's really a landing page, a form, and a connection to your personal calendar, etc. Now, I mentioned that we have the calendar-based marketing interface. We also have this trigger-based campaign interface as well, which is our workflow. So we use these workflows when we're setting up autoresponders to forms or we're doing campaigns, and you will see all integration with Pipedrive is actually configured with these workflows. So basically the idea being is that if ActiveDEMAND detects some type of a trigger, a prospect does something like they follow me on Twitter, do I have their email address? Great, I'll start sending them emails. If not, I'll start sending them direct Twitter messages. We also do full inbound and outbound SMS automation. we as well have this concept of an audience-based drip campaign. So, and this is used a lot with the integration with Pipedrive, and I'll show you that. And the idea is we have this audience system that pulls people of specific behaviors into a group, and once they're pulled into the group, we can use that grouping to automatically target people with either ads or, in this case, specific communications. So for example, let's say we have our accounts are overdue. Maybe somebody hasn't paid. So this list or audience would bring people into the list. We'll send them an email saying, hey, you know, I see that you haven't paid. I'm sure it's not you. I'm sure it's the accounting department that made the mistake. We'll wait a week. If the email is was opened and the account is still overdue, clearly it's the person is not is one of those people that don't pay, so we can start a robocall campaign to try to gently persuade this person to get into paying for the product or services. Now, one of the things that we typically want to do as marketers or even salespeople is we want good visibility into what's going on with our prospects. So ActiveDEMAND has a great dashboard tool for us to visualize what's happening with our prospects. So we have full access to Google Analytics, Google AdWords, Facebook ads, to custom build widgets, as well as our own native data set. So it's very easy to build a great a KPI dashboard for visualizing what's happening in the marketing process. I myself like to know which companies are visiting the website, whether they're anonymous or not. And we also have a great map tool that allows us to visualize what people are doing. So whether they're viewing pop-ups or overlays, or they're opening our emails, or they're clicking our links, or doing any of this type of stuff, ActiveDEMAND is tracking everything that the people are doing. And of course doing reverse lookups to see where they are to put the pins on the map. It's a case that we also do all of our social media scheduling, like I said, so we can visualize it on the dashboard. These are the posts that haven't been published yet, plus of course our appointment scheduler, what's baked in. We also do full call analysis because we are a call tracking platform, and I'll show you that when we get into the process of doing the sales follow-up on a lead. So ActiveDEMAND records incoming calls, summarizes the conversations based on these tag clouds, auto-categorizes calls based on what they're talking about on the phone, plus we can push the transcripts automatically into Pipedrive when we're engaging with a prospect. Now I'll start talking about how the process goes with from the handoff from marketing into sales and the engagement into Pipedrive. So typically when we're doing marketing, it's the case that, you know, the marketer is going to try all kinds of different things to try to create these sales-ready leads. So usually it's a case that the definition of what is a lead and who it's going to is fixed, or not fixed, but I would say it's fairly stable, right? So what ActiveDEMAND does is it abstracts the lead qualification and lead distribution process into a workflow. So if anybody fills out a form, if they download an asset, they book an appointment, any of these things happen, ActiveDEMAND of course is tracking, and this workflow is going to fire. And the idea is the workflow is going to analyze the signal to determine if it is a sales-ready lead, and if it is a sales-ready lead, then it's going to send it off to sales. And of course, it will actually analyze what the prospect has done. And the first thing you'll see in the integration with Pipedrive is this object, which is a deal creation object. So we can actually automate the creation of deals in Pipedrive, and we can also automate the deal stage that the deal is created in. We can also move deals inside Pipedrive based on activities that the prospect has taken. So if we take an example, let's say there's this Bob Smith person. Bob Smith is doing a bunch of activities on the website, and this is in ActiveDEMAND, and then it's a case that he's viewing pop-ups, he's viewing dynamic blocks, he's doing all of these things that he should be because the marketing folks are doing the job. And here we go, we actually see this person download a white paper, and then if he downloads a white paper, it's a case that we send an email to Bob, and of course, in this case with a form, the form is filled out, so hence it becomes a sales-ready lead in Pipedrive. In Pipedrive, so the deal is created, and this is back in time that the deal was created. ActiveDEMAND has a Chrome extension that I mentioned earlier, and the Chrome extension, a couple of things it does is it does outbound call tracking as well. It lets me know who's on the website, who's not on the website, and it has native Gmail integration as well. So when I send an email, it of course tracks the email, encodes the links, and when the person comes on the website, you'll start seeing pop-ups and overlays. Another thing that the ActiveDEMAND Chrome extension does is it adds a layer of data to the Pipedrive interface. It's something we call Prospect Insights. If you can see this little green dot beside Bob's name, that means that ActiveDEMAND has detected Bob on the website. So if I click this dot, it's going to bring up an interface to show more information about what pages Bob is currently visiting or has visited in the past. Now that I see that Bob is engaged, I can click the phone number and instantiate an outbound call using ActiveDEMAND. I can choose from a regional phone number to give Bob a call from one of the phone numbers in his region. Now if I make the call, ActiveDEMAND will record the call, insert a transaction or a history activity into Pipedrive, and as well put in the transcript of the call. And as you see here, anything that the marketers are doing, whether we're sending marketing emails, if Bob's opening emails, clicking links, any of this stuff's happening, of course, ActiveDEMAND is tracking, and it's posting and keeping the data where it needs to be, which is in Pipedrive. So let's say I made this call with Bob and I couldn't get a hold of Bob. Right? So if I can't get a hold of Bob as a salesperson, I want to be focusing on those prospects that have time for me. So maybe what I'll do is I'll move the deal stage to something like unresponsive. So the philosophy of the integration with ActiveDEMAND and Pipedrive is that the marketing folks are going to make assumptions, and then once they produce sales-ready leads, the reality is the salesperson will understand the truth. So the data in the CRM, we believe, is pristine and it's accurate because, again, the salespeople are talking to the prospects. Therefore, if they made the choice of moving this deal stage or change Bob's name to maybe Bob, his William is what he likes to go by, any of these things, the changes in the CRM need to be reflected back into the marketing system, which is critical for the marketers. So any changes in the CRM that happen here are indeed reflected back into ActiveDEMAND. So we have a webhook that connects Pipedrive back to ActiveDEMAND, and whenever a deal stage changes or deal changes rather, a contact changes or an organization changes, or that data is reflected back in ActiveDEMAND. So we have a webhook configuration tool. And this configures all the mapping of the data from the CRM back into ActiveDEMAND. So in this case, if I have deal stage mapped to a custom field in ActiveDEMAND, which is deal stage, then what we can do is use a custom audience in this case. So for example, we could have a list of collect all of the people who are in the deal stage of unresponsive. So once I changed Bob into the deal stage of unresponsive, it is reflected back in ActiveDEMAND. This audience automatically collects Bob into this audience and starts a drip campaign. So basically, he's added to the list. We wait a couple of days. There's an email sent. Hey, Bob, I tried to get a hold of you. Busy's good. Pick a time that's right on my appointment scheduler, and we will connect. Now, if Bob books the meeting, of course, back into the CRM he goes and back into the salesperson's visibility. But if he doesn't book the meeting, then we're going to do a gentle reminder. Hey, Bob, just a gentle reminder. I just sent you this last email. I have this appointment scheduler. Pick a time that's right for you. Now, if Bob doesn't book it, then finally, we'll keep bugging him. Then finally, it's a case that we need to get the salesperson involved. So we have this other object, which is a schedule activity object that we can use in our drip campaigns to schedule tasks for the individual salespeople to do things. Like in this case, we want to schedule a call to see if Bob is actually still around. So back into the CRM we go, and then it shows up as on the salesperson's calendar that he needs to make a call with Bob. So he goes back and tries to make a call with Bob and tries to get a hold of Bob. And let's say this time he gets a hold of Bob. And now he's on the phone with Bob, and Bob says, you know what? Timing isn't right. We're just in the budgeting isn't for another 6 months. Just send me some information, and I'll get back to you. So one of the things that we can do is, because we have this reflection of data from the CRM back into ActiveDEMAND, we can set up custom fields in the CRM and, of course, create the same custom fields in ActiveDEMAND. And we can assign, for example, drip campaigns based on pick lists. So I just sit here, I pick a specific campaign, save, and of course that's going to reflect back into the CRM, and I lost this deal because Bob's not ready. Let the marketing system do the work to bring Bob back into a sales ready state. So really, you see here there is this play between the marketing system and, of course, the CRM, and there's some tools here to help the salesperson use their time more effectively. Now, with regards to the integration, so I showed you a couple of things. One is I showed you the deal creation object, and this is for automating the movement of the deals. Now, whenever this object is called, it's the case that we're mapping metadata or custom fields from ActiveDEMAND into Pipedrive. So in the account settings, we have a field mapping tool to map data. So whenever ActiveDEMAND talks to Pipedrive, we use this field mapping to update the fields in the CRM. So we have the transactional data, which is the deal creation. It posts a note saying, for example, Bob filled out a form. And then the metadata that ActiveDEMAND knows about at this time is then updating Bob in Pipedrive using this field mapping. So we have all of ActiveDEMAND's metadata mapped to Pipedrive's metadata. We have organization fields as well as custom fields. So really any of the data that is known from a metadata perspective or custom field perspective is mapped into Pipedrive when the prospect does something. We can also post to the CRM right inside the contact screen in ActiveDEMAND. So I can post this prospect into the CRM. Usually we're doing it with automation, but sometimes marketing will find a diamond in the rough, so to speak, and just post the person to the CRM. And we also have the ability to post any history item into the CRM as well. Now, I mentioned that all of the transactional data, like email opens, email link clicks, asset downloads, phone calls, all of this stuff is being mapped in and posted to the CRM, and it's done by using a custom workflow for updating, or I should say posting transactions onto the timeline in Pipedrive. So all of this lead processing is done in lead processing. There's two workflows. One was the deal creation or sales notification workflow. The second workflow is this Pipedrive activity posting workflow. And basically what it does when somebody opens a link, opens an email, clicks a link, downloads an asset, this workflow fires and it uses this activity object to schedule and complete a custom activity in the CRM. So basically, how the magic works is, of course, we have to create custom activity types in Pipedrive and then map this workflow, the individual activities, to those custom activities back in Pipedrive. So now when a marketing email is sent or the link clicks, email opens, or any of these things happen, these specific actions are being posted as completed activities in the CRM. So stepping back, it's the case that the integration process, it's the case that we add the integration, like mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, through the marketplace, and it's done on a per salesperson basis. Then the marketing folks will apply pressure to the population. It'll create sales-ready leads. Lead qualification and distribution is done with the lead processing workflow called sales notifications. This is a default workflow, and basically you'll set up the deal objects to automate the deal movement in Pipedrive. And then once we're in Pipedrive, we have the CRM insights, we have the outbound call tracking, we're as well logging all of the information that happens in ActiveDEMAND back in the CRM. We'll use and I'm just going to jump to it here, the contact, the webhook connector, and this is set up to make the connection from Pipedrive back to ActiveDEMAND, so we can map the metadata and contact changes and CRM changes back into ActiveDEMAND, and then we can use these state changes on the individuals to drive personalized campaigns with the prospect. So long story short, I've hopefully shown you a lot of tools that will help you get the most out of your time as a salesperson and gain visibility into the sales process, as well as simplify some of the tasks while executing inside Pipedrive.
Awesome. So that is pretty much it for Sean's presentation. I know that was a lot of information. Really hope that was helpful for you all. We're going to stick around the chats. If anyone has some last-minute questions, we're just happy to help you out. But again, thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope this is beneficial for you all. I think Sean also wants to say goodbye to everyone, but thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you all. And yeah, like I said, there's lots, like Keela said, there's a lot of information there. Feel free to add ActiveDEMAND to the marketplace and give it a try. We're happy to do the integration for you. It's a case that because we know Pipedrive very well, and of course we know ActiveDEMAND very well, so it may look like there's a lot there, but we're happy to do the integration for you. Thanks again. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day.